The dressage phase, which takes 2 days to complete, started on Thursday morning, when only a few enthusiasts had arrived to see the first horse.
Lizzie Purbrick, certainly no stranger to starting off in these big 3-day events, and she was the first one to come in front of the 3 international judges.
The first test of the Badminton horse trials in 1984 will be ridden by Lizzie Purbrick.
Test takes them about 7 minutes to complete and consists of a lot of intricate movements, all laid down, that they have to perform. And the judges are looking to see how obedient the horse is, how calm he is, and how much brilliance he shows. Something that's very difficult to achieve on a horse who's fit to run for his life in just a day or 2 days' time. The arena's laid out on the beautifully mown grass in the ring that will be the show jumping ring in Badminton Park in 3 days' time, and the other competitors certainly watching the early ones with great interest.
Now about to enter the arena, Richard Walker, a previous winner of the Whitbread Trophy, and definitely in with a chance this time. He comes up the centre line to salute the judges.
Yes, this is a very attractive horse that Richard is riding, Accumulator, owned by himself and Alan Birchall. And although it's a youngster, it'll be very interesting to see how he goes. Richard is renowned for his dressage riding. Not that he isn't good at everything else, but he certainly has over the years produced very good dressage tests. This horse certainly got his ears pricked. And that's the movement known as medium trot, where the horses have to lengthen their stride but still maintain a good rhythm, an absolute evenness of pace.
Another combination on the Olympic long list, Emma DeHaan and the Apostle.
Yes, that's the extended trot. Just at the beginning of it, the horse, a bit over-enthusiastic and wanted to canter, lose at least 2 or 3 marks there from the judges. This is the extended sitting trot, and again the Apostle not quite even in his stride. A nice outline, he's enjoying himself. Later in the test come these canter serpentines, where the horse effectively has to go round a corner on the wrong leg. And that is something that obviously requires considerable training. The Apostle looking very good. Nice smooth transition back down to the trot. And there are the marks going up for everybody to see.
Now the 1983 runner-up, Mike Tucker and General Bugle. Seeing if you can do one better this year.
Yes, this is a horse that Mike and Angela Tucker bred themselves, which is always a tremendously exciting thing to do with a top-class competition horse. Unlucky last year at Frauenfeld in the European Championships when he was lame just before the start, but certainly back in action and looking extremely well. Again, just a little bit hesitant in that extended trot. A very difficult movement for the horses in terms of keeping the evenness of the stride.
Lizzie Purbrick on her second ride, Frederick the Great.
This is a very fine looking horse, a big strong horse, and he's a very bold, fast galloper across country, so really quite difficult to wagon round a small dressage arena like this. Gets a bit enthusiastic as he goes down the centre line, and in fact goes on into extended trot and throws his head. The horses often anticipate that movement. Only too keen, it seems, to get down to the end.
By this time, the stands are filling up. Crowd's taking a closer look. Many have come especially to see the 5 times winner of Badminton and the reigning world champion do her test.
Well, Lucinda Green won Badminton indeed in 1983 on Regal Realm, and that horse not at Badminton in 1984, being saved hopefully for the Olympic Games. But Beagle Bay, a very, very worthy substitute. Previous winner at Burghley, and indeed 5th at Badminton himself in 1983.
Number 92.
Absolutely square halt at the beginning of the dressage test as Lucinda salutes, and then goes off in working trot. Should be a nice, active and not too fast pace. And then into the medium. Judges looking for a clear difference between the two trots. And an absolutely even circle. Now the transition back down to the slightly slower pace, less extended strides. Small circle there, just 10 meters across. All the movements in the test performed in both directions is to make sure that the horse is well trained and doesn't prefer to go one way rather than the other. Most horses have a preference and have to be well schooled to be made supple enough in order to bend in both directions. That's the right half pass. The legs literally cross in front of each other. And in the most prominent position, right in front of the judges, the halt. He should be absolutely immobile and will lose a mark or two for tossing his head. Now in that extended trot, while not brilliant, no change in rhythm was shown by Beagle Bay. And that's certainly a good thing. No unevenness. Now, funnily enough, what is in some ways the most difficult movement of all, the walk. The horses are all very fit, very keyed up, and to get them to walk quietly and with a nice, long, easy stride at extended walk across the arena is extremely difficult. They know perfectly well they're about to do the various canter movements, which they probably enjoy a bit more. And although he hasn't broken into a trot, Beagle Bay's stride not very long and definitely a little bit unsettled, so he won't get the best of marks for that movement. Straight from walk into canter. They're not allowed to trot. And the serpentine, the full width and length of the arena, with this middle loop being what's called counter-canter. That's on the wrong leg, crossing the centre line absolutely straight. It's really three half circles put together. And then into the extended canter on the diagonal. He shows a very clear difference of stride. And a smooth transition back. Same movement, left hand rein. In addition to the way the horse is going, the judges are looking for how the rider gives the aids, how attractive the whole outline is, how smooth it is. Ideally, horse and rider should appear in perfect harmony. Easier to talk about than it is to achieve. It seems a very long 7 minutes when one's riding that test.
Well, that certainly was a fine effort, and the judges liked it so much that at the end of the 2 days of somewhat indifferent dressage, Lucinda just has the edge over Richard Walker, Mike Tucker, Emma DeHaan and Liz Purbrick, with New Zealander Mark Todd, another previous winner, in a very strong position.
Obviously, the really exciting thing is cross-country day. Roads and tracks, steeplechase, more roads and tracks, and into the cross-country. And the roads and tracks start right in front of Badminton House. Every rider going against the clock, having to time themselves very accurately indeed. Lucinda Green setting off on Beagle Bay on phase A, trotting through the woods, and then on to the steeplechase, just under 2 miles at nearly racing speed, over some 8 to 10 fences, again against the clock and a tight time required. On the second set of roads and tracks, they come past the beautiful Worcester Lodge, looking down towards Badminton House, and a long ride back towards the starting box for the cross-country. It's about 7 miles, 7 kilometres rather, before they come back into the hub of affairs again. The grooms can tend to the horses, give them a refreshing mouthwash. The vets check them during this 10-minute halt, and everything is ready for what everybody has come to see, the start of the cross-country phase itself.
So the first to go to test out Colonel Weldon's 27 fences round this 4-mile course is Lizzie Purbrick and the Gricebeater. Nice and relaxed in the box. Tense time for the rider this. Having the final countdown.
3, 2, 1, now.
And she's away. Into the daunting massive crowd here at Badminton. Over 200,000 people. Into this inviting first fence. The whitbread barrels, for the first time with a bit of a roof over the top. Sets off in front of Badminton House. The course going opposite directions each year, so the turn to have the front of the house at the beginning. Lucinda Green waiting to go after jumping the inviting early fences. The first problem on the course, beautifully done by Lizzie and the Gricebeater, taking the shorter route on the left. Now up to a feature fence of Badminton for many years, a zigzag over the ditch. This is where the course has been shortened a bit this year at the request of the Olympic selectors. So over the whitbread drays instead of going over the Luckington Lane. And now the Vicarage V. Will she try the corner? No, she's taking the safe route, wasting a little bit of time, but plays it safe and jumps it nicely. Making her way now to the Stockholm fence. This has got an alternative, either a big tree over a ditch or a post and rail. Tight turn under the new rules, that is allowed without penalties. Neatly pops over that.
So Lucinda Green away on her first ride. Village Gossip this is. He's 16, but my goodness, he still looks as fresh as ever.
Lizzie and the Grouse Beater over the Irish Bank. Gives the horse a reassuring pat.
Over the Irish Bank, number 9.
Approaching now a fence copied from Horson's at a European Championship event. She takes an easier option there, but doesn't waste much time doing so.
Lucinda at the Cattle Crush. On the left-hand side, 2 short strides to get out over that hay rack. And as always on Village Gossip, she's set off at a really strong gallop.
Lizzie checking her watch as she comes into the water, having a steady round. Gathers the knitting together. Ooh, and leaves a leg behind as she comes out.
Those Whitbread drays, no problem at all for this very experienced combination. And I'm sure Lucinda will have a crack at the corner. Has to really reach for that Village Gossip. His dressage has improved over the years. He's not too far behind the leaders, in fact. She's going the quicker way at the Stockholm fence, obviously determined to waste not a second.
And now coming up to the 4th fence, one of the younger riders, Nigel Taylor on Trodelice Milton Tyson. He's going for the right-hand route there. Takes a little longer, bounce out, but does that very nicely.
Lucinda really galloping at Horson's Bridge. No problems at all.
Nigel Taylor now over the zigzag.
Now the Lake. She's an expert here. Always takes the quickest route. Brilliantly through.
Nigel Taylor now coming up to the V. He goes over the V fence at the shortest route, brilliantly over that.
Now the ski jump. Very tight turn. They hop over that, and then an awkward little fence at the bottom. Comes very closely after the log at the top.
Milton Tyson now coming up to the Stockholm fence. Slides down a bit, but gets away with that.
Well, this is interesting. She's going straight through that pig hut's fence and banked it.
And Nigel Taylor goes over the Irish Bank and into the ditch on the far side. So Nigel Taylor, Milton Tyson, party company, as Feemore and Kilgarran Lad now go over the 4th fence.
This is another new fence this year, the Frauenfeld platform. But the awkward thing is the turn to the wall out of the quarry. Lucinda really riding, and Village Gossip, my goodness, he's got out of a couple of tight spots.
Kilgarran Lad at the zigzag. Now the V, she goes over the corner riding well.
Catherine Wheel's a fence where you can jump it in several different directions, but Lucinda opting for the left-hand side, fairly straightforward, wastes perhaps a second, no more.
Kilgarran Lad and Feemore taking the longer route at the Stockholm fence. It's about 50-50 as a choice so far. Pecks a bit into the ditch.
Now the crucial Huntsman's Close fences at the end of the course. Several different ways into the woods. Then very awkward riding through the trees to get at this fallen trunk on the way out. She's going to squeeze over by the white flag in the corner. Certainly very fast so far.
Over the Halson's Bridge for Feemore and Kilgarn Lad. And starting now, Andrew Nicholson from New Zealand. First of his 2 rides today, he goes for the left-hand route, gets a little close to the out part of that fence.
Well, the time that they're aiming for is 11 minutes and 38 seconds. Lucinda now coming to the Whitbread bar.
Andrew Nicholson and Rubin over the zigzag.
There is the famous last fence at Badminton, the bar. Village Gossip clear, and looks to be going to be well inside the time. No penalties incurred if she's round in under 11:38, and indeed nearly 3/4 of a minute to spare on this fine horse.
Nigel Taylor none the worse of his fall at the Irish Bank. Brave horse, no trouble up the quarry bank. Deceptive gap underneath the fence, quite muddling for the horse. He takes a bit of a longer route up to the wall and goes clean over that.
Meanwhile, has come through the dumbbell.
Andrew Nicholson at the corner, skids a bit as the horse has a look, but again no trouble there. Feemore at the lake. Gathers the reins, coming steadily. The easier option on the left. Massive crowd at the lake, about 2,500 people. Another one to skid down into the Stockholm fence. As Milton Tyson comes, another one to choose a left-hand route at the Catherine Wheel.
Milton Tyson now, safely through the catch.
As Andrew Nicholson goes over the Irish Bank, no trouble for him there.
And now the Irish Bank.
Milton Tyson at the cross question. Nearly home, but so many disasters can happen at the very last minute. Goes for the bounce there. Nice feeling for the rider. Just 2 more fences to go.
Oh, Rubin pecks a bit over that bridge. And Fiona Moore now coming round to the ski jump. Be very steady off the corner and then drive on. Well, this will be interesting. European Young Riders Champion a couple of years back, Ginny Strawson. I think Andrew Nicholson was very nearly unshipped, and oh dearie me! Well, that's just the sort of problems. He lost a pedal coming into the water, and of course couldn't put things right. Ginny Strawson on Minsmore, not going very strongly through the cattle crush, and indeed, she is in desperate trouble. This horse doesn't get a move on. I don't quite know how she's going to get on round. A bit depressing for Andrew to have to go back in the lake, but he's through successfully. Big zigzag. Huge ditch under this. Well, Minsmore certainly not terribly enthusiastic today. Ginny none the worse. Now a second attempt. Well, not as unsuccessful as the first, but another 20 penalties. And Ginny's got a problem. Over it? No, not over it. He must have put his hind legs down in that ditch, so poor Ginny's had 2 falls and a refusal, all at one obstacle. Not a great start.
In fact, without a Minsmore had a second fall at the zigzag, if he mounted,
Well, this young New Zealander should be fairly pleased so far, but I think he's got a few steering problems as he comes round that corner. Never really got straightened up at the fence. Don't think Rubin's particularly reluctant. Doesn't quite know what to do.
number 9.
Well, sensibly, Ginny Strawson taking Minsmore round the longer way at the Vicarage V.
Rubin coming up to the quarry.
Well, that might have got him going again.
Back the France out platform.
Rubin now into the quarry.
And he's over the wall, but rather climbed it.
Leaves his back legs behind. And just away on the early part of the course now, Mike Tucker on the first of his 2 rides today. His second string. Takes a right-hand route at the 4th fence as Andrew Nicholson takes the popular left-hand route at the Catherine Wheel.
And Rubin over the Catherine Wheel.
Quite a difficult horse to ride this.
Dalwhinnie over the zigzag number 5.
Ooh, Mike gets a bit close, sees the wrong one at the Whitbread race.
Mike Tucker coming up to the Vicarage V.
Comes to the corner. And a bit lucky there too.
Well, it'll be very interesting to see how young Ian Stark gets on. Put on the long list for the Olympic Games on the strength of good performances last year, but this is his first badminton. Quite a test. Now, I think Mike Tucker and Dalwhinnie will go straight on at the Stockholm. Beautiful, absolutely super.
Tucker over the Stockholm fence, approaching the Irish bank.
Very, very decent, honest horse, this.
Rubin over the last, coming up to the finish of the cross country. Sawati coming up with his intact, has jumped the second.
Mike not going terribly fast on Dalwhinnie, jumping very securely. As Ian Stark goes through the cattle crush, a little bit quick, but Sawati is very clever indeed out over the hayrack. How fast to go? Ooh, only just quick enough. But beautifully out. So Dalwhinnie halfway round. While Ian Stark and Sawati have certainly started at a great gallop.
Beautifully over the drays. A bit better than Mike Tucker. Going a nice free gallop on this course. Ian's first badminton. Another one for the corner. As corners go, a nice inviting corner in fact, although the competitors will have walked round 3 times to make sure exactly their line for this fence as Mike Tucker comes up to the Normandy bank. Very imposing fence this. Long drop down, but beautifully done by Mike and Dalwhinnie.
Dalwhinnie, well over the Normandy bank.
Mike, a veteran of badminton. Sawati and Ian Stark come to the Stockholm fence. He's going the brave route for a first-timer. Jumps it beautifully. The Irish bank only recently with a pole in front as Mike Tucker now comes up to the ski jump. Ooh! Sawati lands very short over the bridge. Mike Tucker taking the longer route at the pigsty after watching Lucinda on the close circuit, scraping legs, taking the shorter route round there. Sawati at the lake. Yes, scrapes his tummy, but neatly through, gets his reins together.
Yes, that was a good bit of riding by Ian Stark. Gathered the horse up well in the water. Super Salesman and David Green, well, they were last after the dressage phase, nearly scored 100. But this is a fine jumper.
Dalwhinnie at the quarry. Bit of a hesitation on top. But Mike taking a longer route round to get to the wall. Some of the earlier horses taking a bit of a shortcut and leaving their feet behind. Sawati at the Normandy bank. A ditch in front, up onto the bank and then down over the drop.
Now with Ian Stark over the Normandy bank, number 14.
This horse, Super Salesman, was a very good show jumper before David Green got the ride on him.
And Ian manages to balance his horse coming round the corner. Very tight turn, confronted by a deer fence. Rides out very well.
Over that and over the defense, or down that, should I say, and over the defense. Over that, Super Salesman.
Well, Mike Tucker certainly grinning, or is it grimacing? The Catherine Wheel, which
Dalwhinnie.
I don't think has quite worked so far. We haven't seen anybody jump in the middle of it.
Dalwhinnie over the Catherine Wheel.
David Green, of course, now a British rider, got a British passport, and in contention.
Now to the Whitbread phase.
Mike Tucker had two horses, both his horses in the money last year.
In the running order as they go second one. Standing at the lead at the moment.
I can't think that this corner is going to be a problem for this big jumping horse.
61.8.
It certainly isn't. Well, so far so good for Ian Stark.
In the meanwhile,
But he's going to have to ride now,
he is over the
and
keeper's
a
row.
little bit lucky
And
over the
down
wall.
to quarry, 19 and 20, and Super Salesman has jumped Horson's Bridge number 10. 20 jumping penalty.
Absolutely effortless super salesman. Seems to treat the fences here at Badminton, which are probably the biggest in the world, rather like Cavaletti in his school at home. And that's the way to ride Horson's Bridge. Gallop on and get as close to the lip as you can before they take off.
So what are coming into the captain wheel with Ian Stark?
Now Ian, in fact, is in with a chance of becoming the leader. If he can get home inside that time, he will take over the lead. He wasn't far behind after the dressage.
David Green and Super Salesman just coming
That's
in.
Jolly Smith just going through.
Onto and off the bridge. Swinging right and then left again. And
Another horse to just put their back legs on the wall coming out of there, as Jolly Smith and Charles Edwards. Another young combination on this course. Tackle the Horsons. Now coming to the very daunting water. Very cold water as well. And she's got wet. She's got wet. First one to give the crowd their money's worth today. Terrible feeling, I'm sure.
Yes, the boots get full of water. If the horse went under, the saddle will be slippery as well. You can see he came in very nicely. Everything looked fine. Took off. She sits well back, which is sensible, but the front legs hit the water and stay still, and if they stop quickly going into water, you have had it. David Pease and the politician just rattle that hay rack. Not easy, that fence. And here he is, trained by Mary Gordon Watson. But I don't think she'll be too happy about that activity. The politician didn't like the look of the ditch.
None the worse for their dunking at the water. Jolly Smith, Charles Edwards.
Oh my goodness, Rachel Hunt and Piglet was a little bit lucky through there. Long striding horse. Much more at home on the open fences like the zigzag there.
David Pease, one of the few very sporting amateur riders, works up in London. Nowadays most people eventing at Badminton have to do it nearly full time.
This girl, one of the most talented of the juniors. Jolly Smith, young rider.
And Charles Edward.
On the fringes of the young riders team a year or two ago.
And then right to the wall. Jump the wall on the right hand side. Very neat step. Stockholm bent.
Very interesting how these young riders tackle Badminton at their first attempt. Rachel Hunt and Piglet is certainly making a good fist of it. I'm not sure that we're going to see anybody else have a go at those pig huts straight through. If Lucinda can't do it very easily, nobody's going to risk it. Well, that's where they landed a bit short over the bridge. A little bit fast into the water, Rachel Hunt. She's got him back, and in fact jumps it very well, very easily. Loses not a second of time. Johnny Tulloch down from Scotland. This horse who went round Burley last year, or the year before rather, and round Badminton last year.
Safely over it though. The politician and David Pease.
Has a bit of a thing about Banks, I recall at Burley just before the trout hatchery. And yes, in fact, doesn't like the Irish bank here either. He's had a little bit of trouble earlier on.
Funny how some horses take a dislike to a fence that others will jump very smoothly and easily. And John's decided after 2 refusals that enough is enough, no point in going on.
Retiring now. The politician has finished.
That's the first of our French visitors this year. They're certainly keen to do well, preparation for the Olympics. And I think Rachel Hunt is going to be inside the time on Piglet. This will be a tremendous achievement. Yep, she's grinning all over her face, gives him a pat. He thoroughly deserves it. So, nothing to add to her dressage score. What a fine effort.
With the first, Jackie depart over the keeper's rails.
And the foreigners on the course thickly now. New Zealander, Andrew Scott. This is really the New Zealand Olympic trial. Oh my goodness, Liz Tiley was lucky. Now, kick on. Oh, Andrew, you won't be very pleased with yourself after that. I'm afraid just Henry put his head down. Andrew seemed to see it as a diving board.
Most riders going for the corner. And just away, another first-timer, Jane Swallow and Ballyquin. Feature of this badminton, in fact, is the amount of first-timers coming for a crack. Very encouraging after many years. Oh, and Liz runs out.
Yes, it's quite difficult to get the line through that lake if the horse is pulling too strongly. And that's what we saw there. He just... Well, now that's... I don't think she gave him quite enough room. This is absolutely crucial, of course. 3 refusals is elimination. No problem there. So it lives to fight another day.
Just Henry through the captain wheel.
Well, another Scottish horse. Peter Wilson from Glasgow.
And Liz Fox over the captain wheel.
You have to kick on hard to jump this corner. Well, I think Officer Devil reckoned that was just a bit too much. Oh, Jackie! Jackie! Well, Finisterre luckily in one piece on the landing side of the fence. Nasty moment for Jackie Toogood. Well, he's been very lucky to get over there. But can he stay? Oh! Well, he's outside the penalty zone, 20 metres from the fence. So it doesn't really matter whether he falls off in terms of penalties. But well done, Peter Wilson. The crowd certainly enjoyed that.
Now yet another Scottish rider, but now living in Wiltshire, Johnny Johnson. Also his first badminton. His wife Debbie, a top dressage rider, so obviously trains him. Taking a very roundabout route to be safe at the Stockholm fence.
This is the horse and rider who have perhaps the reputation of being the fastest round cross-country courses. Queen Hill and Cindy Moyer set off very quickly. I'm sure she'll go for the corner. Oh, well, you see, that's the problem about corners. Just a slight misjudgment of the line, or the stride slightly wrong. It's so easy for the horse to run past the fence. 20 penalties, and she will be feeling very cross indeed.
But over this time, taking the long route.
I think Finisterre's probably mucked up the bank. He's gone on round the course.
And Jackie Toogood through the captain wheel.
This mare very, very difficult in the dressage phase.
Just coming up to the lake now.
Usually brilliant across country.
Fewer riders taking the left-hand route into the water this year, but it's causing very few problems. Now for Ireland, Rathkenny and Sarah Gordon had a wonderful ride round Burley. Very, very strong horse this.
Yes, only one stride through that cattle crush.
Cindy well back in the saddle now, having bridges to broken. Oh, and Johnny Johnson goes over the middle of the Catherine wheel, the only one we've seen today do that.
Where's Kenny over the Stockholm fence? Coming up to the
The horse is certainly proving pretty testing, sorting out the top riders from and top hot combinations, which is after all what it's there for.
Taking a long route at the big star, number 17. And just coming into the leg.
Now Rathkenny's really got hold of the bit. You can see that he's pretty headstrong and charging down towards the water. Too fast, surely. Up onto the step. Whoa! Ah, where's he going to go? There we go, both of them.
And the photographers, by the look of things.
I think Sarah's really got to get him back under control before she can even attempt to get out. Can't be an easy ride.
Nevertheless, lovely to have a horse which really wants to jump these big fences.
59.2 time penalties.
Well, I'm afraid Fairfax does not want to jump the Stockholm. It is imposing for a horse, and these big ditches, I don't know what it is, that horses somehow seem to think there are dragons lurking in the bottom of them. Ideal fence for this horse, the Normandy Bank. It wants attacking riding, it wants to be galloped at. I'll be interested to see how this horse goes, Just the Thing, with Liz Kershaw. Very impressive type.
Sarah Gordon still having a bit of braking problems with Rathkenny. It's a bit close to the long top. Lovely jump out over the bottom.
Marjorie Comerford's been around Badminton many, many times, riding Charles Harrison's Cheel Harvester today. Very experienced. Rode in the European Championships 11 years ago.
Just the Thing with Liz Kershaw. Liz, who produced 3 cups, which was then taken over by Richard Mead. Lands a bit short over the Horsens Bridge.
Balanced approach essential. And Cheel Harvester and Marjorie Comfort jumped that as well as anything we've seen so far.
Just the Thing at the Frauenfeld platform.
This horse has certainly gone extremely well and a big jumper. I think he's got a great future in the sport.
Now another overseas rider, William Winty from Australia. The Australians not quite as strong an eventing country as they have been in the past. Their sole representative here this year. Liz Kershaw, the very, very popular route on the left. At the moment we hear there have only been 2 who've gone over the middle.
And nice it is to see somebody attacking that Normandy Bank.
A 2-day score, the provisional score, of course.
Now where will this young Australian rider take on the Horsens Bridge? He takes it the more difficult route.
Edward Pybus, I think, had a problem earlier on, and oh, he's retired. Yes, well, I think that probably confirms the fact that he did have problems at fence 3, the Pardubice. 1 refusal there, and obviously good news.
Oh, and Marge. Marge has had a fall right at the end of the course. This fence, in fact, a few years ago caused trouble for Diana Thorne on the Kingmaker when they were in a commanding position, and poor Marge has come down there as well. Peter Copland away.
He looks a bit anxious on Harvester as he sets off. I suppose that's inevitable. It's a very, very big occasion, and just look at those crowds.
Well, Marge none the worst. Very disappointing, though, to have a disaster so late on in the course. And this is William Whitney. That horse looks very, very unsound.
Horse to start on the course.
And as well, Peter might have looked worried before he started. One needs to be very confident of one's horse before tackling a course like Badminton. And for a first time, with all the crowds,
Very wisely.
opt for the optional route. That's
Not
the
going
rails
very well,
to the
this
left,
horse.
and out
Oh,
over
and
the
into the ditch. Good recovery there.
Peter
Have any
Coughlin did
penalties
well
for
to
that?
stay there.
This is
Goes
Sally
on
Ann
to
Evans.
the Irish Bank of Fence.
They live in the Channel Islands.
The right-hand option, which is the one stride in the bounce. That's very neat.
Oh, and another one into the ditch. That's the third one today we've had go into the ditch on the far side of the Irish Bank. There is a ditch on the far side.
So just
Sally Ann Evans, winner of the Points Championship for young riders last year. But again, this is a real step up into international competition.
Peter Coughlin still continuing on rather unhappy ride this year. Comes to the Horsens and even stops at the easier option there.
Divine Intervention's been one of the most consistent horses around the big competitions at Badminton and Burghley over the years.
Divine Intervention, colours of another score this time for Liz
Helsinki at the Stockholm. Very international flavour to the whole of Badminton.
No jumping penalties, just en route for the pig stride.
There's been a fence around the Vicarage ditch, a Vicarage V of some sort, for years at Badminton. Beverly goes the longer way. Oh dear, well, I don't think she picked her route over the ditch very well.
Colonel Vic and Jane Henderson.
Colonel Vic and Jane Henderson.
Colonel Vic managed
Appears to have lost a pedal over that.
over the whipbread barrel, cross-pressing the fence, bounces through the unstrap.
Oh, gets very close to the Whitbread Rays.
Now, Sally Ann Evans had a pretty good ride on Helsinki. Not sure if he wants to go off over the
And
second
it's over
part of
the
the platform.
front of the platform and the wall.
She keeps a good hold of his head, kicks hard. Those are the secrets of success.
Jumps
An
that all right.
intervention now over the Horsens Bridge. This horse, in fact, at the footbridge a few years ago, jumped over the first part of the parallel and managed to stand up and go out the short route.
Colonel Vic going the long route.
Colonel Vic, the long route at the V.
Does it very neatly. That's the rails and forward pile in and the
Well, that's bad luck on Sally Ann Evans. She's had a very, very good ride so far,
first refusal of
and
the
a surprising place to have a run out. This old horse really knows where he's going. He says, show me the fence, I'll jump it.
Big close, left hand.
Young Devon rider.
Colonel Vic.
Well out over the second bit of the water for Colonel Vic and Jane Henderson.
Jemima Johnson going a longer way round at the zigzag, playing a little bit safe.
Young Sierra now at the and stops. She probably lost her concentration. She took her hand off the rein to give the horse a reminder before she went in, and she's giving a bit of a reminder now to make sure she goes in a second time. There's always a danger if you take your hand off the rein too close to the fence, you drop the horse, and that's exactly what happened.
23 and 24 for
Makes no mistake the second time. She sits there. Well, did she present the horse at that? She might well be given a refusal for the second element as well.
wind fall at 25. And the fall at the
This is a very good horse, Timber Knight and Jemima Johnson. Now an interesting one. John Conifey only picked up the ride on Charlie Fox at the beginning of the week.
17.2 time penalties and to address our score.
Took it over from John Thelwell. So very much a strangers to each other, John and this horse.
And down the side and then over the arrowhead.
And I think it probably showed there. John really didn't quite know how the horse would react to the fence, and a little bit of indecision.
Kingsfeld and Jancis Year over 22, the cross question.
And that in fact is another 20 penalties, because he's turned a circle before jumping part of the fence. I'm sure his aim though will be to get round. Jemima will be pleased to get through that. She nearly had a tumble at the trout hatchery at Burghley last year.
And now the president, Lucy Bywater, they in fact led the dressage on the first day.
Timber Knight
beautifully out over the Stockholm fence as John Conaffy continuing to take the longer routes around. This horse, in fact, if allowed to go too fast, takes a bit too strong a hold.
There's the President very much in touch, and if she can get round inside the time, then I think she could just go ahead of Ian Stark, who's the current leader, back in the box. Oh, that's a nasty one. David Merritt and Queen's Purple, he's obviously perfectly all right, did a good somersault. That's the problem with the fence. It's two short strides, and if the horses don't pick up quickly, that's the result.
Back in the plate.
Yes, he's perfectly all right, says the horse. None the worse for wear. It's amazing how they can tumble like that and remain in one piece.
Safety over that.
John, in fact, turned us another circle there.
His tracks to form a circle.
20 more penalties, but jumps beautifully out over the wall.
And in fact, it shows how cautiously John's going round this course, because Lucy Bywater and the President not hanging around, pretty well catching him up. Skids a bit on top of the Quarry Bridge. So a few more fences to go on this course. They might end up by approaching one of these massive obstacles together. Not the sort of fence you want to race over. And here's Mandy Lucy in the dark imp. Now, how close is Lucy behind John Conaffy? Over the Catherine wheel, and there he is. There he is. Now, is he going to pull up to let Lucy overtake him? Yes, it looks as if he is. So he's going to get round in his own time. Doesn't impede the following horse.
And in fact, the grey.
Lets the horse through with a chance.
It's a good horse, the Dark Imp. Does a reasonable dressage test normally, and very consistent.
So Lucy Bywater at the last, super roundish, and she stopped at the last. There have been a few disasters at the last fence before. Matthew Straker on a horse which won Badminton with Lucinda afterwards fell at the last fence, and in previous years there have been stops there. But how very, very disappointing. She was in with a chance, a good dressage and a lovely first ride at Badminton, to have disaster thrust on you right at the very, very end. Gets her composure together, and well, she'll be very relieved to be over there. Now former junior European champion Nicola May and Jolly Aventer, and she leaves both legs behind on the corner there.
Recovery by you at Woolley at the top of the slide.
Lucy, I hardly dare ask you how you feel after that tragedy. You had a wonderful ride to the last fence, didn't you?
Superb. He went like a dream.
Jumping brilliantly.
Yeah.
And what happened? Is that dark roof or what was it?
He's never very keen on roofs, and I think if I'd took hold of everything and kicked like mad,
have you had problems with roofs before?
He never likes low hats on top of fences, no.
So the first and the last were your worst
The first
problem?
and the last were our first, but he jumped.
I'm sorry.
He jumped the first very well.
We were all just thinking you were about to go in the lead, and there he was.
That's how it goes. Isn't
Well, you seem quite cheerful. Well
it?
done.
I was glad
anyway.
with the ride I had. It was lovely. He really went well. Thank you.
Over the pink side, back to the second element of it, but no further problems. Goes on to the keeper's row.
Now Vincent Jones on precision. Vincent, another one of the sporting amateurs. He's been round Badminton. Oh, and it's not going to be his year. He's never been up in the lights at Badminton, but he's been round about 6 times.
Jessica Harrington, one of the very best of the Irish riders with this young horse Della Hunty. A great horse, Amoy, placed last year. But I'm afraid that Badminton a little bit too much for the youngster. And the French challenge continuing. That's an unusual method, go on and off the hay rack. It seems perfectly successful. Hope he doesn't try the same thing at the zigzag. No, he doesn't try anything, I'm afraid. Javelot de Lille, not interested. Katie Hill with hard times. Steady, but absolutely safe. And this is an absolute super horse swing along. Normally very reliable, jumped a good few big courses over the years.
Katie's reins quite long coming into that. They might have got wet at the water jump. Manages the control, but no, she paid the price. If she just had reins a little bit shorter, she might have had more control to get round that corner.
Now this will be very interesting indeed. Richard Walker coming to the lake. He's about up on the clock. I think he's in good time. He was so well placed after the dressage. In a very good position to become the new leader. And certainly going a tremendous gallop.
And swing along now with cross question number 22.
Cresta Run and Rachel Medal not very happy there. Holly Schwert's happy on Dylan. Shows that young lady. Well, that's a considerable surprise, and I suppose is the price of inexperience on the horse's part. I mean, not Richard's. Just not sure where he can put his feet. He's decided it's all right. But certainly 60 penalties, and Richard out of the running. I'm sure this horse's turn will come in another year or so.
Number 8.
Holly Schwert with Dylan. Very good jump for this. Oh dear, now you'd think coming from the West Country he'd know all about banks. What a tragedy, straight into the ditch.
So disappointed Richard Walker on his way home now. Richard, who's had a lot of success at Burley in recent years, but sadly hasn't really had much luck at Badminton, and that looks like the end of the day for Cresta Run on the Normandy Bank.
This was won in Rome last year, but oh my goodness, he didn't half clout that fence hard going through the cattle crush. Lucinda Greenwood had a fall, but none the worse for wear. Mary, a very bold rider and way out, the biggest jump we've seen today.
And now Polishworth and Dylan. They've already had one fall today. Into the Catherine wheel, on the left-hand side. Nearly home.
Mary's done terribly well with this horse over the last year or so.
Right a little bit.
And although an outsider for the Olympic Games, must be in with a chance after a good round like this.
Just away another Olympic prospect, this time on her second string jet set, Diana Clapham.
I didn't like the way he jumped that at all.
Fairly inexperienced horse, went well at Buccalo last year. Just stumbled a bit on landing.
Robert Lemieux, the games master, he was certainly fairly confident before he started. He's had a good spring season in the one-day events.
And Clapham over the imposing keeper's rails.
Another New Zealander now. Absolutely beautifully out over that fence. That's Mary Hamilton. This is Robert Lemieux. How nice to see some young men coming on in the sport. Now Nick Harland with Clayton has got a reputation for going really well across country in many, many competitions. So is Tiny Clapham, of course, but this horse not up to the standard of Windjammer. Olympic horse, at least we hope her Olympic horse. And Robert Lemieux's won at Bramham last year up in Yorkshire. Got a new sponsor, Boardmans, who've kept him in the sport this time. So some really good horses out on the course at the moment. And Nick Harland from Lincolnshire with Clayton tracking Tiny Clapham. And she's done a very good job indeed on jet set. He seems to have matured the whole way round.
Robert leans well back, coming down the very steep slope at the ski jump. Make sure he doesn't lose his balance.
Well, reigning European champion, Rachel Bayliss. That, of course, was a great Mystic Minstrel won in Switzerland last year. This horse, Cuthbert the Celt, out of action last year with a minor leg injury. But a good and useful horse coming to the zigzag. Interestingly, going the longer way round, but he jumps it fluently. Mystic Minstrel being rested. Rachel, a great competitor, really sails on over that corner. My goodness, he jumped that well.
And another young man taking on Badminton for the first time, Rodney Powell and Pomeroy. Another horse which was begun in its career by the Naylor Leylands, who also brought on Beagle Bay, which Lucinda will be riding later on in the afternoon. Nice jump over the inviting drays. And he's been pulled up. There's obviously been an incident later on the course.
Well, we learn, in fact, very sadly that Cuthbert the Celt's had a fall at the Stockholm fence, unfortunately broken a leg, had to be put down. Great tragedy for Rachel. The competition gets restarted pretty quickly. And that's very brave riding by Rodney Powell, having been held up in front of the Vicarage V to jump the corner. And that shows considerable maturity.
Now, the Stockholm fence number 8.
I think this young man could go a long way.
Oh, brave jump, nearly in there, brave jump at the water. Just got his balance back.
It's a great ability among riders, top riders, to be able to stay on board when things go slightly wrong. Rodney certainly showed that there. But now, the young French lad. Young riders European champion last year, but certainly not going to be badminton champion. And in fact, the horse stands up pretty quickly and lifts the rail off. Thank goodness for those ropes and the quick release knots on the fences, which are solidly built. Interested spectator, Her Royal Highness Princess Anne, Captain Phillips going later today on classic lines. The horse is certainly quite untroubled by that problem, but I think the fence builders may have a little bit of difficulty. Great solid timber, very important. Horses jump it so much better than flimsy rails, and yet it's all roped. What's this now? Frederick the Great? I think it is. Lizzie Purbrick must have had a fall up at the third.
Pomeroy now taking the popular route at the pigsties.
Yes, it was Lizzie. There she comes. Steward has very kindly brought her horse back. That's quite allowed. After you've had a fall, anybody can help you to get back on board. And a lot of time will have been lost. That's the one fence we can't see on the cameras. Hedge and ditch. Really fairly straightforward obstacle. But my goodness, she's going to catch that up. And here comes the dressage leader. Lucinda Green, of course, Beagle Bay, already right up there with Village Gossip among the leaders. Ian Stark still the leader with Sir Watty at the moment, as Beagle Bay comes to start. SR Direct Mail own this horse and own all of Lucinda's rides, and she's away, and as always sets off at a cracking gallop. Great characteristic of Lucinda's riding is she never wastes a yard and sets off as she means to go on.
Rather stickly, in fact, over the first fence there, skewed over. But Lucinda sitting there like a limpet over the inviting log at fence 2. Now she treads the other route on Village Gossip, but her husband David's been through the right-hand side.
Beagle Bay through the right-hand side of the grass grass. Frederick the Great now with the horse.
Frederick the Great pulling for his head, but actually has a very good look at the ditch under Horson's Bridge. Now Lucinda, remembers, got 4 miles to cover. A long gallop all round the park.
Beagle Bay jumps the whispered.
Some places the fences are grouped closely together, others well spread out. Judgment of pace, absolutely crucial. And judgment of line, and she gets her line right there.
And all the climbs over the log pile, but safe.
Although she's the dressage leader,
And out
she's still got to go within or very, very close to that optimum time of 11 minutes 38 seconds in order to retain that position.
Beagle Bay over the Stockholm fence. Going great gun.
Yes, 20 penalties for any mistake cross-country, and the dressage marks so very close.
And on to and off the Irish bank. Johnson there, meanwhile, jumped the Catherine wheel, number 21.
A familiar pat from Lucinda as she successfully goes over a jump.
Has this great ability, Lucinda, to keep the horses balanced and really rides positively.
Now here's another one who's on the Olympic long list. Lorna Clark, a veteran of badminton. Before they changed the rules, one of only 2 people to have ridden 3 horses round in an afternoon. That's over 50 miles in an afternoon.
Well, the water no problem to Lucinda on Village Gossip,
Johnson there, over the last.
so she knows her way.
Beagle Bay approaching the lake.
And he leaves a leg. Oh, well sat. Well, my goodness, that really is talent for you. She landed in the lake. He was a little bit off balance, but she had him up and running and away. Lost not a second.
Danville, part of the British team which won the silver medal at last year's European Championships. Lorna, who has Ian Stark staying with her. Beagle Bay still full of running.
Yes, Danville's certainly going pretty well. He wasn't far behind the leaders after the dressage, so we've got 2 horses on the course at the moment, either of which could take home this Whitbread trophy.
Lucinda loses the pedal over that, but sits so well you would hardly notice.
Lorna and Danville, Vicarage B.
Over the Stockholm, many of these fences copied by Colonel Weldon from obstacles that have been built in European or World Championships all over the world. Copied, but usually with a subtle variation to suit the conditions at Badminton.
Very few island fences at Badminton stuck in the middle of the countryside, all built beautifully to fit in to the natural surroundings.
That's interesting that Lorna should go that way on Danville. And here's one of those copies, the Frauenfeld platform from the fence in Switzerland last year. Quite new to English eyes, and Beagle Bay really skids across the top of that. Landed a bit flat-footed, I think. After her experience with village gossip, she made no mistake at that wall. Well, this is another New Zealander. It's Andrew Nicholson again. He's already been round once. This time it's on Carlua. We can see Beagle Bay coming to that platform, and he lands, puts his front feet out, and literally skids across the top. And needs really well balancing by Lucinda.
Andrew on probably the better of his 2 rides here today. Had a few problems going round on his first horse, Rubin.
Now, Beagle Bay, about half a mile from home. No penalties so far. Jumped absolutely beautifully.
Beagle Bay now, through the castle wheel.
So it's all a matter of time. That's got, you can't really see it very well, but a very imposing ditch under it, but late on in the course doesn't seem to worry the horses. It's the turn immediately after it into Huntsman's Close. Well, there shouldn't be any problems from here on in, but we've already seen poor Lucy Bywater have that problem at the last. And it just shows you can't afford to relax at any of these 27 fences. Horse is getting a little bit tired.
Ginny Strawson on her second ride of the day. Disaster on her first one. In fact, at the following fence, she had 2 falls there and 3rd fall later on.
Well, Lucinda certainly going pretty well on the clock, with just 2 fences left. This is a very straightforward, inviting fence. But the Whitbread bar at the end, not quite so simple.
Ginny comes to the Stockholm. And it's just not her day.
Well, nobody knows that fence better than Lucinda. No problems at all. 11:38's the time. I think she'll just make it. Well, there it is, 5 seconds inside, 4.5 seconds inside. So certain to be the leader after the cross-country, after that marvellous dressage. But here's Mike Tucker, and he certainly will have designs on the trophy.
Runner-up to Lucinda last year. He can't overtake her today, but if the scores are very close, he was lying 3rd in the dressage. Mike coming to the zigzag.
I say you've done it again.
No, you don't.
You've got a little way to
Was
go
I inside
tomorrow.
the time?
You were inside the
Oh, what a
time.
marvellous horse. Well done.
So, you know, you're the leader and you're going to be the
Tomorrow
leader
isn't
tonight.
our best phase, so let's hope.
Well, this particular horse, you mean?
Well, we just keep kicking 1 or 2 out. He's such a good jumper, but we'll see.
Somebody else's turn, okay. If it's
No.
ours again, wonderful.
There's still Mike Tucker to go out on the track, of course.
He's right up my backside.
And he's pretty tight.
Yeah.
How did the course ride as compared? You've been round twice. How did it compare to what you thought it would be?
Every bit the same. It's badminton. You have to ride for every fence if you want to get it.
And Lorna Clark now nearly home. She'll be trying to impress the selectors. Lovely ride out over that, as Mike Tucker comes to the corner. Has a bit of a look at that.
Ian Stark then, his second ride. Just been put down into second place, of course, by Beagle Bay. That was on his first ride. Sawati currently in second place.
Number 100 in your program.
This is Oxford Blue, thoroughbred horse. Ian lives in Scotland, near Selkirk. And he still sticks to the left-hand route, happy with it both times. Now, Mike Tucker has had a few brushes with the badminton ache. He's well up on time, so he can afford to go steady. Oh no, Michael! Well, he's grinning, but I bet he's not really very happy about life. I suppose that can happen to absolutely anybody. The horse stops quickly when he lands, shoots you up in the air, and splash. Never mind, all in one piece.
In Stark now. Victory to be. Jumps it just as well on that horse as his first ride. And again chooses the difficult route at the Stockholm fence. Obviously had a lot of confidence on such a superb first ride today.
Yes, it helps a tremendous amount to have been round once, been round badminton, because you set off the next time really full of beans, as I'm sure this young lady will. Ginny Holgate, nightcap, marvellous rider, again her best horse priceless, waiting in the wings, hopefully for the Olympic Games. She's been in the team for the last 2 or 3 years now and has done us really proud. Well, he ain't got that right this time. On Sawati, he stood off that too far, landed short, no problems with Oxford Blue.
So Ginny Holgate, who in fact was Junior European Champion 11 years ago, one of the few juniors to come right the way through to the big team stuff.
Amazing how when these good horses jump the fences, they make them look so easy. And yet, as always today, we've seen the problems. Ian rides on a fairly long rein. Contrast it there with Ginny, who's really got a tight hold of the horse. That was absolutely magnificent. My goodness, she must have seen the stride from 100 yards away.
Slight reminder of Richard Mead with the elbows there, Ian Stark going over that fence. Maybe augurs for good things later.
Yes, well, Richard, of course, still to come at the end of the competition. Well, now, that's very interesting that Ginny Holgate should choose to take nightcap the longer route at the Stockholm. Must be just slightly worried about whether he'll mind the ditch. She's certainly going a good gallop. Didn't do as nearly as good a dressage as we've come to expect from her and this very, very good horse.
And just starting for New Zealand.
But even so, clear round cross country could get her up among the leaders. Well, this is Mark Todd, 6th overnight with Charisma, over from New Zealand for the season.
And is over the first.
Ian was a bit tight on the turn to the wall on Sawati. He's learnt from that experience. And no problems this time. Yes, Charisma, fine quality horse, not very big, only 15.3.
So Ginny comes to the leg, an experienced rider, but got it wrong. Oh, that looks as if it hurt.
Well, I think that was nightcap, you know. He paddled up that step. Marcus certainly means business, doesn't he? He won here in 1980 on Southern Comfort. Yes, well, now let's have another look. That was all fine. Picks him up well, kicking to go out, and instead of jumping clean onto that step, he, well, puts one leg up then the other and has absolutely no hope. She certainly didn't have a chance. Well, thank goodness she's not hurt. Back on board.
And now Mark, the tallest rider on nearly the smallest horse here, but my goodness, he's giving it a good ride.
Captain Mark Phillips now with Classic Lines. Not had a lot of success in the big competitions since Lincoln won here 3 or 4 years ago. But I know he thought that this course might just be all right.
Charisma just has a little look coming down off the bank there. Reminder from Mark to come up this steep slope. When this fence was introduced, the wall, a few years ago, everyone thought quite unjumpable. It's really caused no trouble.
Vicarage V for Classic Lines. Well, Mark certainly gave him every chance to jump it.
So Mark coming round for a second attempt. He could take the easier option, post and rail followed by a ditch and another post and rail. Would definitely be a sensible thing to do. But no, it looks as if he's going for the corner.
Yes, well, that's certainly surprising, but I know Classic Lines has a little bit of a history of not liking coffin-type obstacles, ditches the other side of a rail. I'm sure now he'll have to have a go at that. Poor Mark, not had a great deal of success just recently, and not going to be very happy about this. Oh dear, well, I'm afraid that's the end of the road. 3 refusals and, sadly, not his day. But it might be this man's day. Just 3 from home, Mark Todd with Charisma.
Davy Green now on his second ride of the day. Slightly higher up the dressage order than his first horse, which sadly was right at the bottom. This I know is his favourite horse.
Princess Anne obviously heard about Captain Phillips's problems out on the course. And David Green, who really has improved as a rider out of all recognition in the last couple of years. And he's giving this horse Walkabout a super trip. And here is the team captain himself, Richard Mead. Last horse to go on the cross country. This young horse Andy Guy, who won in the Dutch 3-day event in Boekelo last autumn. And again, another of our team members with his top horse, Kilcashel, also owned by George Wimpy, in reserve for the games. Well, that was neat enough. Looking at his watch, Richard, as he gallops across the countryside. That, in fact, I think is Captain Phillips on his way home.
So Davy Green at the lake. This fence, which many years ago used to be the last fence of Badminton, now halfway around the course, no problem for him. And now Richard Mead and the young horse Andy Guy, concentration all over his face. Horse and rider. Richard goes for it, misses a bit, lands very heavily on the back of the horse.
Yes, I think Andy Guy was a little bit reluctant to jump that ditch. David Green's done a really super job on Walkabout. Hasn't hurried him at all. I'm sure he'll pick up a few time faults, but it's only a young horse. Richard really setting sail, my goodness, at the Horson's Bridge. Not running any risks.
Horse looking as if it's beginning to resist a bit. Always notice that when the tail starts swishing over the dumbbells.
So, very steadily, down towards the water. The crowd really hanging on to see the climatic finish of this cross-country day. And watch how Richard really gathers him up and catches hold of the head, kicks him, says, "Come on, about your business." Well, we've seen many, many sights at Badminton, but I can't remember ever seeing poor Richard Mead on his knees in the water. Not a very pleasant experience. I think the sense of humour's just about returned, but I hope Andy Guy's not out in the middle, because if he is, Richard has literally got to swim to catch him. No, it's all right. Andy Guy says, thank you very much. I'll find dry land. Well, I suppose Richard will be cleaner than he was when he started. So just David Green left, and the Whitbread bar, all that's left for him. Richard Mead walks a little bit disconsolately away, no doubt. David over the Whitbread bar. Yes, he's just under half a minute over the time, but I'm sure he'll be very, very pleased with that round. And anybody who's jumped 2 clear rounds at badminton, as he has, Ian Stark has, and Lucinda, of course, have really got something to be proud of at the end of today. Well, glorious weather. Great crowds all day. Lucinda then in the lead from Mark Todd on charisma. Great performance by Ian Stark with his 2 to be 3rd and 4th. Robert Lemieux, the games master, and Lorna Clark with Danville. Very tight at the top for Sunday's show jumping.
All the horses had an inspection on the Wednesday before the competition even started. But before the show jumping, they have to appear again in front of the panel to see if they're fit and sound after the rigours of the cross-country and endurance. Unglamorous though the inspection may seem, a sunny Sunday morning still brings out the vast crowds. Obviously some horses are a little bit stiff, but the judges are ensuring that they'll come to absolutely no harm by doing the final phase.
The politician passed. I'm afraid that Just Henry has not passed. Number 92, the last horse, Beagle
inspection,
Bay.
in fact, it's one of the most nerve-wracking parts of the competition, because even if one's sure that one's horse is in perfectly good nick, it's a frightening moment to think he might just tread on a stone or be lame in some way and be unable to complete the competition. Beagle Bay is certainly very fresh. He's admiring the crowds, I think. He looks pretty pleased with himself. Yes, that looks perfectly all right. I'm sure there'll be no problem for Lucinda. The judges and the vet will be quite happy with Beagle Bay.
Traditionally, the Whitbread Drays lead all the competitors in front of Her Majesty the Queen to parade.
Whitbread Brewery, once again, as general sponsors of the Badminton Horse Trials. Parade, in fact, will be in...
Here comes Lucinda with her 2 rides, both up there in the placings, followed by all the competitors still left in the competition. Her Majesty with the new Duke of Beaufort,
Merritt riding his own Queen's Post.
a wonderful shot as they foul past the royal box. Richard Walker saluting, followed by Polly Schwert, Tiny Clapham, and one of the new stars, Robert Lemieux. And now in the arena, lying in 9th place, Andrew Nicholson on Carlua. The show jumping in reverse order of merit to build to a really exciting climax at the end of what's been a very exciting 4 days.
Yes, this New Zealander has done very well at badminton. New Zealand hoping to send a team to the Olympic Games. And whether they do or not, depending very much on how they perform here at badminton. Not a very big course, but the gate too big for a Kailua. Remember these horses not trained to be top-class show jumpers. So the fences are about 4 foot high, well within their scope, but a very different cup of tea to an ordinary class. And another one gone, very different indeed to an ordinary show jumping after the rigours of the cross country. Well, Kailua really not having a great day of it. I think that's 4 gone already. And at 5 penalties a time, this is going to cost him very dear indeed. Now for the double. Parallel here and then past the royal box. That's in fact 6 down so far. The water to go. Well, poor Andrew, I'm afraid that's 35 penalties and he's going to be right out of it.
Now one of the new stars to have emerged from this badminton. Hopefully he won't have the same sort of show jumping round. Robert Lemieux and the Games Master, lying in 5th position. Can he hold on to that, or maybe with a bit of luck move up?
Particularly attractive horse, the Games Master. Real classic stamp of the 3-day event horse. Full of quality, good galloper. How different it is jumping over these fences that can knock down from the fixed heavy poles that they were negotiating in cross country. Well, that's 1 gone. Time not really a very important factor in the show jumping phase, though there is a time allowed, and they can't afford to hang about if they're going to avoid time faults. But there's no question of having to be the fastest. The course is deliberately made, fairly twisty, to test the horse's suppleness. Stands absolutely packed. Well, Games Master so far jumped a copybook round, except for that fault at the gate. Way out there. So just the 5 penalties, and I think Robert ought to be very pleased with his first venture here.
That in fact puts Lorna Clark and Danville up 1 place above him, so he drops down to 7th.
5 jumping points for Robert Lemieux and the Games Master.
But what a super first ride.
64.6.
Now here comes the other wonderful prospect to emerge from this badminton. Ian Stark was lying 3rd and 4th on Oxford Blue and Sawati this morning. Sawati's already jumped, had 1 down, dropped him just down the order, but he's still in the prizes with his first horse, and now hoping to retain 3rd position on Oxford Blue.
58.2.
I like enormously the way this horse goes about his business. It looks as though he enjoys every minute of it. Obviously, 3-day event horses have to enjoy it or they wouldn't do it, but He really looks a star in the making. Ian's only really concentrated on his riding and his horses over the last 2 or 3 years. Certainly made a pretty fine job of it. He was first and third on these 2 horses at the Bramham 3-day event up in Yorkshire in 1983. And did very well on 2 foreign trips. Stood off that a little bit, but safe enough. In fact, this water jump's got a pole over it, so it doesn't matter if they land short in the water, as long as they clear the rails. Well, a super clear round. That certainly makes absolutely certain of third for him. A fairly hefty cheque to take home for the owners of Oxford Blue, and I'm sure he and all his family are absolutely delighted. There in the bowler hat, in fact, is Charles Stratton, the director of Burley Horse Trials, in charge of the show jumping here at Badminton.
Now Mark Todd from New Zealand. He won here in 1980 on Southern Comfort. He came up from behind. He was lying in 3rd place and the 2 people above him had fences down. So if he goes clear, he'll put Lucinda, the current leader, under a lot of pressure. And a popular winner he'd be as well.
Lucinda that year had been lying 2nd. She is just warming up as Mark starts his round. And I would think that this horse could be a very fine prospect indeed for the Olympic Games in Los Angeles. He was unbeaten in New Zealand last year. And the New Zealanders really have been making great strides. The sport growing out there. And of course the exploits of somebody like Mark Todd coming to Badminton back in 1980 and winning, and now doing so well here again, are just the sort of thing to give it the shot in the arm. Mark's an absolute model for young riders to watch. Horses are always beautifully balanced. Strong rider, but very calm. Now this is the treble. Even somebody of Mark's experience is going to be a bit cautious about this double. Vital to get the striding into it right, and he does. Huge leap out over the water. So super clear round, and he definitely will get 2nd prize. Ian Stark in 3rd. And I know Lucinda would have wished that he'd had a fence down in terms of her winning this Whitbread Trophy.
Well, Lucinda looking calm. She has a fence in hand, but she did say after her cross-country round yesterday that the show jumping phase was certainly Beagle Bay's weakest department.
Lucinda Green now with an SR Direct Mail Company, Beagle Bay, on 51.4.
Salutes the Queen.
1973 was Lucinda's first win at Badminton on that great horse Be Fair. Won it no less than 5 times altogether, and all on different horses. Fantastic tribute to her ability. Mark Phillips, of course, also won it many times, won it 4 times altogether. And really these two have pretty well dominated the Rolls of Honour over the last 10 or 12 years. Beagle Bay now 14 years old, which is on the old side for a 3-day event horse. But with both him and Village Gossip, Lucinda's been very careful with them, taken a lot of care, and reckoned while they were happy, she was happy to ride them. Triple bar. Mark Todd just wondering, I don't think he's too hopeful. She's been very secure so far. Oh, a very long stride at that. Now Lucinda throttled down for the double. Well, how lucky can you get? That rail must have gone up 6 inches, straight back down in the cups. So just the last. She went into that 4 years ago, but well over it. And you, the smile tells the story. I think she can hardly believe it. 6th Badminton. What a fantastic day. And the crowd, there's no doubt she is their heroine. All over the country, people come to watch Lucinda ride. I think she's shaking her head about those 2 fences near the end. She knows she was a little bit lucky. Luck so often goes with those who are the most able. Well, very sportsmanlike Mark Todd, the first to congratulate her. There's Lorna Clark. Thank goodness in this sport everybody really delighted for others' success. And husband David, who had 2 great rides on the cross country, is certainly as pleased as anybody. There's Jessie Harrington from Ireland. Ian Stark comes over. So there it is, the final result. Yet another win for Lucinda Green. SR Direct Mails Beagle Bay. Mark Todd 2nd, Ian Stark Oxford Blue 3rd. They come in, Beagle Bay knows he's being admired. Her Majesty the Queen going to present the prizes. Lucinda then comes forward to receive her prize from Her Majesty the Queen. As John Burbridge, chairman of SR Direct Mail, her sponsors, the owners of Beagle Bay. And he gets that famous Whitbread Trophy for the Badminton Horse Trials, generally regarded as the greatest individual 3-day event in the world. The replicas all on the table for the first 12 in the lineup. And John, a very proud man, his 2nd Badminton in a row. And Her Majesty the Queen, who's obviously enjoyed these 4 days as much as anyone. So the final act has been played in the 1984 Badminton. And certainly it's the Los Angeles Olympics now in our sights.
Here she goes again.